Every challenge coin holds a story. The unit, the deployment, the handshake it was pressed into your palm with. But stories fade unless someone saves them. All Coin lets you digitize your coins and the stories behind them, a lasting record of what your service meant and who you served it with. Preserve your story free at allcoin.brav.co because your service is worth remembering.
Hello, my friends, and welcome back to the Lost Art Project Veterans Voices. I'm your host, Andrew Cox, and today we're going to have one heck of a story for you. It's from across the pond, and it's going to be exciting. But before we get into the episode, are you enjoying these podcasts? Make sure you go hit up the website. That's the Lost Art Project, veteransvoices.org. Check us out, see what we're all about. If there's any way you can help us, it'd be much appreciated. Big shout out to the Valhalla Project out there doing amazing things. If you don't know anything about them, go check them out. Even if you do, go back and check them out again. I say it every single time. They are an amazing organization. You can always find them at tilvalhallaproject.com. Don't forget the Marine Corps League now has veteran service officers out there. So you can always go to the website at mcleague.org, do this VSO locator, or you can dial 703-207-9588, extension 299. And for anybody that comes on this podcast, I now, thanks to Allcoin, am sending out a pretty cool coin, digital coin out to everybody. So everybody that comes on is going to be getting a digital coin. Same thing for our guest today. So it's going to be exciting. Looking forward to it. But with that, I guess we will move on to the next thing. I've got to find it. I'm lost. Hold on. I'll get there. Here it is. All right, we're going.
Are you a Marine veteran? Are you missing that bond you had on active duty? Then I have a place for you. Join the only congressionally chartered Marine Corps Veteran Service Organization, the Marine Corps League. Get that brother and sisterhood back in your life. Become one of the fewer, the prouder, a Marine Corps League member.
All right, I'm going to bring my guest on. I am not on point today. I am hitting all the wrong buttons. But here we go. I think we're back now. I got Matt here. Matt, how you doing, man?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I'm excited. This is going to be a good one, in my opinion. You're from across the pond, so I'm excited. This is a different military story. It's different all the way around. So this is going to be great.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it too. I'm sure it'll be really interesting.
Very nice, very nice. Well, heck, man, let's start at the very beginning. Like, where did you grow up? Tell us about that a little bit. What was it like? And then eventually, what drew you to military service?
Well, yeah, I grew up in a town called Gloucester in England. I know there's a Gloucester, Massachusetts in America. I grew up in Gloucester, England, the original Gloucester.
Nice.
Really old town. And I went through just a normal, very, very normal upbringing. Had a pleasant family and a pleasant upbringing in a semi-rural place. And when I joined the military, I joined the local regiment, which is the Royal Gloucestershire, Berkshire and Wiltshire Regiment. You know, British regiments, they've got very, very long names. But we just called them the Gloucesters for short. I'm from Gloucester, and Gloucester boys, well, they joined the Gloucesters. So that's why I joined. It's an infantry unit with a really long history. In fact, it's one of the few British Army units that has a presidential unit citation, that little purple one.
Oh, no kidding.
It was the most decorated infantry unit in the British Army at the time, and so that's why I joined.
Okay. And what year was it that you joined up?
I joined in 2003. So
2003. Okay.
Where I joined as just right at the bottom as a private in the reserve battalion.
Okay. Well, now I'm assuming same type of thing for your guys in the military, right? You go to boot camp, all that type of stuff first.
That's right. Yeah. The British Army, boot camp or basic training. You can call that phase 1. And then you got your specialist to arms training, which is phase 2. So I did my phase 1 training, which was boot camp. And then I did the phase 2 training, which was the infantry, combat infantryman's course. CIC.
Gotcha. Okay, tell us a little bit about boot camp over there. Like, I'm sure it is probably just as exciting as it is over here. But if you don't mind, kind of tell us a little bit about it.
Well, when I joined, you got to remember that at the time, the British Army, their main focus was security operations. And it had been for a long time. You had Northern Ireland, Bosnia, Kosovo, and all those sorts of things. They were not high-end operations. They were what the Brits called low-intensity conflicts. And so the culture in the army started to shift away from high-end combat operations, the Cold War, the Gulf War things. They come to an end. The culture started to shift towards these low-intensity operations. And so when I joined the army during this period in basic training, it was not as tough as I thought it was going to be. It was not. I had images in mind of Full Metal Jacket or things like that. No way. They were interested in retention, so they'd really softened it a bit. And because it was the reserves, basic training was only 10 days.
Really? Wow.
So it was really straightforward. To be honest, all they did was basically taught you how to march, how to iron your clothes, and how to shoot straight. Everything else I had to learn on CIC, which is the combat infantryman's course, which was a lot more intense.
Okay.
Basic training was exactly that, basic training. Period in between basic and training. It was basic training. So
nice. That's pretty cool. And was it there? Like, where is the basic training over there? Is it in the same town or?
No, we had you got these regional hubs, and we did a place called Wyvern Barracks, which is in Exeter, which is further south.
Okay.
Quite a big barracks, and then we do your training on the same training area because of the geographical location. It's the same training area as the Royal Marines, which were a lot more famous than we were. They're pretty tough hombres, tougher than us. But we used the same training areas then. The base was very, very close to the south coast of England.
Okay. Yeah. I've actually been over to the base, the headquarters down in, what's the name of the city? Norfolk? Is it Norfolk?
Norfolk, yeah. There's a base in Norfolk. The Marines, they're going to be down in Portsmouth. It'd be there.
Portsmouth. That's the one I'm thinking of. Portsmouth. Sorry. Yeah. So I got to go there. It was pretty cool. And we did a ceremony with the Royal Marines, their beating retreat ceremony. Several years back. Yeah. It was pretty cool.
Yeah.
It was fun. Wow. All right. So boot camp, 10 days. Very basic.
Yeah.
And then you move on to your infantry training. Like, tell us about that, because I'm sure that's more intensive.
It is a lot more intensive. And so whereas we were getting ready for just a very, very simple initiation into soldiering in basic training, the combat infantryman's course, that was a lot more intense. And that was run out of the infantry, the School of Infantry, which is in Yorkshire, Catterick, which is a very, very big base. And as opposed to being run by reservists, it's being run by full-time British Army personnel, normally staff instructors from the parachute regiment and stuff like that. Really, really tough guys. And that was considerably longer. Now, we were very lucky because we were reservists. We were still allowed to have weekends off because they did understand that balance between being a civilian and having a family and giving up your time for infantry. And so there was that allowance. But the syllabus itself hit all the same points as the full-time military, just into a compressed version. So when we did that, we started doing your NBC. They call it CBRN now, but that should have been done on basic, but it wasn't. Of course, got to grips with the bayonet because the bayonet is the main weapon of the infantry. If you look at any of the badges, and traditionally it has been rifle. No, it's the bayonet. You know, we get to grips with explosives, some of the heavier weapons, general purpose machine guns, very similar to the M60 was. There's gas operated, belt fed explosives, anti-tank weapons, and all those sorts of things. Because infantry, they have a lot of toys to play with, don't they? I'm sure you can relate. So whereas basic training was very, very basic. Combat infantryman's course, well, that was great, wasn't it? Because you got to play with all these amazing things. But it was a young man's game as well. I don't think I could do it now. I'm 42 now. I couldn't do it. You know, even if that is even 42 is the new 22. No way, I couldn't do it now. It was hard, but it was good.
That's funny. Now, how long was that total?
That was it. That was actually 4 weeks. So that was a month.
4 weeks. Okay.
With the weekends off, so we were allowed to take that. But it was so far north, I never got to go home anyway. I know England is small compared to a lot of places in America, but I was 22 and I didn't own a car, so I had to stay on the base.
Yeah. I mean, that kind of hinders it a little bit, I suppose, if you didn't have a car.
It did a little bit. I didn't mind.
How far would you say it is, like from the base to your home?
Oh yeah, about 400 kilometers. So it's like I live in the south of England, and then Patrick's in the north. So it's pretty much the entire length of the country.
So that'd take you what, like 3 to 4 hours?
Yeah, it'd take about 5 or 6 hours actually, because
5 or 6.
Okay, not a straight line. It's a
I see. Yeah.
To get there, and English roads, they've been there for thousands of years. They just repave them every few decades, and so some of them exist since the Roman times. They're really, really old.
Oh, so wow. I will say, you guys like your traffic circles. There was tons of traffic circles. Roundabouts. Yes. Sorry. Yeah. Roundabouts. Dang, I should have known that.
Yeah, we do. They take some getting used to. I think that's probably the hardest thing when I learned to drive was the roundabouts. The signals are so much better, so much safer. But,
yeah. Oh man. So once you did your infantry training, you go back to because you're a reservist. I'm sure you work a regular job, and then every so often you come and do your training. Is that kind of how it was?
Yeah, that's right. I worked in finance, so that's what I worked. But the reservist battalion, people, we have teachers, labourers. Most of them actually were factory workers. There was an undercarriage factory for Airbus in the city. And so a lot of them came from there. They're kind of like a small fraternity of them. They had a history of providing reservists. But I worked in finance, which was nice because a lot of bank holidays in England, so a lot of 3-day weekends, which meant I could go to the reserve battalion on weekends and Tuesday. In fact, the training was some weekends and Tuesdays, SWAT. So people used to call it SWAT, like a SWAT team. Some weekends and Tuesdays. That's when we used to train. So
no kidding.
Tuesday evening, and then weekends we either did local training or we went to one of the bases around the UK.
Yeah. Now, what did you do on the Tuesday evening? Because I mean, if it's a Tuesday evening, there's not a lot going on.
No, it's not. Normally, it was only about 2 hours, and you'd normally turn up for 2 hours. You'd sign in, and you'd probably do an hour's worth of fitness, and then you'd have an hour's lecture about
I see.
something, and just an update or something. So the Tuesday wasn't as important. But if you were going to be going on training that weekend, the Tuesday was normally the pre-weekend briefing, and you'd have an hour. You try and get everything set up. If you knew you needed this many rounds of ammunition, this many rations, specialist equipment, you'd get that sorted. So it'd be an hour's worth of fitness, and then an hour's worth of administration, and then go to the bar. That was probably the most important bar. Every reservist centre's got a bar, and that's where you mostly turned up. And it was subsidised stuff as well. So you get more booze for your money. So that was the big bar turning up. I think I didn't drink at the time, but I know a lot of the guys did, and they took full advantage of the.
I know. Yeah, you guys do take full advantage of your alcohol over there. That is for sure. Y'all drink definitely way more than I do. I was not prepared to drink as much as I did.
Well, you said you went to Portsmouth with the Marines, and the Marines, they do like to. It's 5 o'clock somewhere, so it's They
tore me up a couple of nights, so but it's all good. It was a good time. I enjoyed it.
Good British hospitality.
Yeah. So now you were working in finance, like at a bank. What was that like for you there? I mean, your regular working hours, Monday through Friday type of deal. Is that typically what it is?
Yeah, basically it was regular working hours. The reason I joined the bank, I did think about joining the military full time. I just left school and I didn't want to go to university. I got a twin brother. He went to university because he's the smart one. I'm not so not smart. So he went to uni. And I thought, well, no, I don't want to go to uni. I'm going to join the army. That's what I thought. But I also applied for other jobs at the same time, and I got an acceptance from this bank, this financial institution, and they pay a hell of a lot more than the army. So I was like, yeah, I'm doing that.
Oh, really?
But I could do the military thing at the same time. It was a nice 9-to-5 job. You got a clothing allowance, so you could get a decent suit out of it and some shoes, because you had to look presentable at the bank.
Oh yeah.
And just dealing with customer inquiries or cash inquiries. because that's where everyone starts at the bank, at the very, very bottom. They had their own promotion system, so you could go on to manage departments or manage branches or specialize in business. Or my older brother, he works in finance. He specializes in agricultural loans these days, so he helps farmers in the UK with their so he entered banking pretty much 2 years before I did. Really, maybe that was one of the reasons I went into that that line of work. But it was an okay job. It wasn't what I really, really wanted to do. But it was. I was 18 and I was getting stupid money for doing it. So you're gonna follow that line, aren't you?
Yeah.
I had a driving license, which I didn't have at the time. Yeah, I had that kind of money where you could sort of show off with your car and show off with your clothes.
Oh, right.
So even though it was well paid, I wasn't enjoying it as much as I was enjoying the military aspect. I was
no kidding.
I can't wait until the weekend to do this army thing, and it's like
that
was much.
Wow. Now, was it every weekend, or you just like once a month on a weekend? How did that work?
The TA did it every other weekend.
Every other weekend. Okay.
Every other weekend. Yeah. So every unit had a full-time component. It was made up of a captain. He was the guy who was basically running it. Even though it's a junior officer, he was what they call the PASO, which is the Permanent Staff Administration Officer.
Okay.
He was there full time, and then he had full time clerks working in the stores and just running the administration. But they would arrange for training to happen every other week. You wouldn't do it every week because people just didn't have that much commitment, and most people do one weekend a month. But you could do every other weekend if you wanted. But there was enough weekends during the year that everyone could do a reasonable amount of training. And then there was a mandatory 2-week battle camp, and that was normally done at one of the bases around the UK. But sometimes you go out to Canada, because British got the training area in Canada, or down Belize, so jungle training, or Cyprus, so you can do hot weather training. So that would happen every year as well.
Oh, wow. Well, tell me, what is it that you like, because you gravitated toward the military aspect, what you wanted to do? What is it that drew you to that?
It's just a lifelong interest. It really, really was. Growing up, I either wanted to be a soldier or a Ghostbuster, and so obviously one of those was a viable option. One of them was not so. I was disappointed to find out that it wasn't viable. But I ended up joining the. I did want to join full time, but I didn't. Like I said, the banking did. But I had a full time, a genuine interest in the British Army. There was a lot of documentaries on previously. When I grew up, the Gulf War, Kosovo, Bosnia, it was always in the news, always seeing these soldiers. So it's always in the newspapers, so always reading it and seeing it. So I was exposed to it quite a lot. Now, none of my family were military members, since my grandparents who fought during the Second World War and a little bit after. But it was just a genuine interest to me from about the age of 5 or 6, I think. And so it was you could say it was a lifelong ambition completed by the time I managed to pass the combat infantryman's course. I got to where I wanted to be.
Yeah, that's awesome. Now tell me, what was your day-to-day when you went in, like on the weekends to your training, and then tell us about the 2 weekends. Like, what was it like for you? For
me, well, if you got to the TA Centre, the Territorial Army Centre, it's called the Territorial Army, the British Reserves, they call the TA. We'll call them reserves now. It's easier to call them reserves. Well, you'd have to get there. You'd have to assemble on a Friday, and because you'd have personnel coming from a bit further away in the city, or maybe they'd been doing business, you weren't expected to do very much on that first Friday. That was more like an administration and logistics day. The training proper happened on the Saturday and the Sunday. So because we're infantry battalion, you're normally doing infantry things, so weapons training or Fibula fighting in built-up areas and things like that sort of training. So on the Friday, you have a very, very late briefing, normally sometimes at 1 or 2 in the morning on Saturday morning, depending on how far away the training area was. Yeah, you would do that, get your head down for a few hours, and then you'd be put straight into the tactical situation. They wouldn't say, okay, well, let's get ready. That should have happened on a Tuesday and the Friday beforehand. And they put you into the situation that they wanted you to resolve. Now, I was a private, so that was very easy to me. And that's the great thing about private. Very little term. You just think about yourself, don't you? Private people do private things. So you just did what sergeants. They said, do this. They said, yeah, I'll do that. Yeah, I'll do that. Yeah, I'll do that. And so that's how you learn how to be a soldier. And it also teaches you how to be flexible and adaptive, doesn't it? Because as soon as you get rid of those hang-ups about thinking, oh, I'm tired, oh, I'm hungry, oh, I'm just do your soldier stuff. Okay, you can be hungry later, you can be tired later. Right now, you got a job, and get on with that job. And so that's what the weekends try to reflect. They put quite a lot of intensity and pressure on the reserves, and occasionally we would operate alongside full-time battalions if they were on exercise nearby as well.
Oh, okay.
So we could get some of that integration sorted out as well. Because obviously reserves are not normally a standalone force. Sometimes they are. They're expected to integrate with the full-time players.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. Now, over the years, because you were in for what, 8 years, 10 years? How long?
Yeah, so I did 4 years as a private, and then I did the rest of it as an officer. That was not infantry. That was training in an infantry battalion. I didn't have a combat role after that.
Oh, I see. Okay. Well, kind of talk us through that. Like, how was that transition? Like, talk me through what you did. So you're private, you're going through then you become an officer. Like, how's that transition happen?
Yeah, it was quite an interesting transition for me. So I did this, joined as a private, and then I was called up for Operation Enduring Freedom, which we call TELIC. So went out to Iraq and did a tour there, and then came back and went back to the battalion. And I'd had officer ambitions before that, but I didn't want to go straight into training. I wanted to be a grunt for a while. I thought, well, it's done about as much as you can without starting to specialize, become a lance corporal. I didn't want to go that way. I said, well, I'm going to move. And because I was still young, I was allowed to transfer to a university regiment, because there's university regiments in the British Army. They're reserve regiments too. And they operate a bit like what's it called in the Americans? ROTC?
ROTC, yeah.
Yeah, they operate a bit like that, but they've got a very, very long history. But you get a commission at the end of that. Now, I wasn't a university student, but because I was young enough to fit in with them, I was allowed to go to Bristol University and train with their UOTC, which is a University Officer Training Corps. I got my commission through them. And then after that, because I changed jobs at that point, I was no longer in finance. I was a police officer by the time I finished. I was working in the nuclear industry as a police officer. So there was a conflict of interest. If there was ever some sort of domestic emergency, were you going to be a soldier? Were you going to be a policeman if it happens? So I said, well, I'm going to be a policeman. So my commission, even though I was commissioned into an infantry battalion, I was assigned a training role for 43 Wessex Brigade, which doesn't exist now. And so I was put into a training capacity there, which basically meant I oversaw the weekend training for everything from that depths up to what I used to be doing there as well.
Oh, that's interesting. Wow. So while you were your first 4 years when you were you said you did one deployment?
That's right. Yeah. One deployment to Iraq. Yeah.
Can you tell me kind of about that deployment, where you went, what you did, and how that experience was?
I'll tell you, right, I had no idea it was coming. Now, that's the funny thing, because I was reservist and I had no idea. And I remember specifically someone saying, oh, don't worry about getting called up. None of the Gloucesters have ever been called up since the Korean War. And it's just true. None of the Gloucesters have been called up since the Korean War. So I was sitting, I finished basic training. I finished CIC, Combat Infantryman's course. I finished CIC, Combat Infantryman's course in September 2003. And I went downstairs to go and put the kettle on. And this was December 2003. And there's an envelope with my name on it. And I thought, oh, great. And I don't only get post. And it said, because if it comes from the army, it says on Her Majesty's service on the letter, the envelope.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
So I thought, oh, maybe that interview I had with the colonel, because I was expressing interest about, officer training at some point. Maybe he'd put me forward for an interview board or something. And I opened it and it said, oh, Private 25. Oh, fuck me, I'm being called up. So that was it. I had no idea. I've been out basic training 2 months. So you think about that. Finished basic CIC Combat Infantryman's course. There's only 2 months. So in the interim, I'd only been to the TA Centre, like 4 times.
Yeah.
So
wow.
But it says you have to report. I've still got the letter. I've got it over here. I kept it as a souvenir. It says you're being called up in support of Operation Telic 4. You'll be deploying to Basra in the south of Iraq. And I thought, yeah, I know where that is, because that's where the British soldiers are getting killed at the moment. Oh, bloody hell, so that's where I'm going, is it? So, yeah,
Oh, man.
Christ. And they put us into, it's a historical first for the British. It was the first fully reserve unit to be deployed to a theatre since the 50s.
So the whole reserve unit went as a group, like as one unit.
Yeah,
oh wow! Okay.
First time in a generation that they sent out a complete unit in a ground holding role, because they wanted us to go and do the infantry things, not to be. Traditionally, the reserves have been battle casualty replacements or people with specialist skills. The infantry had never been called up. It was clerks, chefs, drivers. They were the ones who were normally called up, and the infantry had previously been called up for battle casualty replacements. This time they had sent out a whole battalion, well, the whole composite company, I should say, because we didn't send a whole battalion, but they sent out a complete unit of 3 regiments, which made up our battalion, which is the Gloucester, my unit, the light infantry, which people will recognise from Sharp, which is Sean Bean, and when he used to do his Napoleonic War thing, if you've ever seen it. And the other one was the Devon and Dorsets, who have the same motto as the Marine Corps, which is Semper Fidelis, Semper Fi. So they were the other one. So one composite unit went out, and I was the youngest in the company. I was 19. There's a song about Vietnam, and then 19. So that's how old I was. I had my 20th birthday out in Iraq, and it was a very busy, very fun tour. I enjoyed it. It was.
Now, when you all deployed over there, like, did you just take over that a certain area in Basra, or was it the whole that whole region?
We took over certain areas. So we had Basra Palace, which used to be Saddam's palace in the area. There was several bases in Basra. The battle group headquarters was the Shat Al Arab Hotel in the north of the city. We were responsible at Basra Palace for the south of the city in the rural area as well. So we were out towards the south. And Basra Palace, it's not like Buckingham Palace or something. Basra Palace is a very misleading name. It's literally just an army base with a few fancy buildings to make it look like a palace. It was surrounded by 2-meter thick concrete walls, guard towers. It had a road network, vehicle pools, barracks, engineering departments, a little jetty for boats to come and go. It was built during the Iran-Iraq War as a border base, and a very fortified one that could hold a lot of people. Of course, the Brits came in because during the invasion of Iraq, the Brits came through the south, through the Al-Faw Peninsula, through Kuwait, and that's where they smashed into first. I see. Once they pushed on, the follow-up forces came on. Those follow-up forces were withdrawn, and we were put in to start the low-intensity operations, as they called it. We were expecting Northern Ireland. We didn't get Northern Ireland. We trained for like a Northern Ireland situation, low-intensity patrolling, operating with local security forces. That's what they assumed would happen. It wasn't. It was full-on combat. It was just like your boys, the Marines, they were in Fallujah at the same time that we were in Basra. It just gives you an idea of the flavour of the situation.
That's when I was over there, that same time frame. But I was in Ramadi.
Yeah, I know. I remember, so that was a busy place as well. So Ramadi, they were all a bit tasty at the time.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. Tasty. Yeah. Oh, wow. So talk me through what your day-to-day was when you were in combat. Like what was the norm? Like you get up, go patrol, like what was the things?
Well, the company had 5 tasks because we're a self-contained company, and we had a light aid detachment, an LAD, which handled the medical and mechanical and logistical service, but we were a self-contained detachment. So we had 5 things to do. First thing, we had to protect the base. So there was always some people on gate and some people on towers as well. Eventually, we had private security contractors from the Gurkhas come in actually to take over that. But
really? Wow.
We could have more people on patrol, but initially we were doing that ourselves. After that, we would have people on QRF, which is the quick reaction force. So the 911 service, anything that's called out, they'll go out for. And then you had a day patrol and a night patrol unit as well. So there'd always be people on patrol 24/7 somewhere, resting up. So I won't talk about guard duty because that's boring, and I'm sure everyone knows about what guard duty is. Just stand there and keep it safe, keep a lookout, don't fall asleep if you can help it. That's guard duty, isn't it? But patrol, we'd either do it on foot or we do it on in vehicles, or occasionally we do it in a boat with these to patrol the Shatt al-Arab waterway, which basically delineated the area between Iran and Iraq. And of course, there were a lot of Iranian insurgents coming across, feeding in the insurgency, and then they could go back and be immune basically from the coalition. So we patrolled the waterway on boats very occasionally, but we were light infantry role. So normally we were in foot, or we were in something called a snatch, which is the armored version of a Land Rover.
Okay.
Kind of like a Humvee, but smaller and armored. Not very well armored. It's no good against IEDs, and we did lose a few to RPG, but it could stop a 9mm 7.62 if it was shot from a long way away. It made a hell of a sound when it hit the side though. So if we were going on foot patrol, you'd normally be expected to be out because it was city patrolling, probably around about 4, 5, or 6 hours. So you get yourself ready for that. So if you're doing vehicle patrols, you could expect to be out for a lot longer because you can carry water and supplies and lie up and secure somewhere. So what you do is you get ready, get your equipment sorted out. You make sure the vehicles have the fuel, the lubricants, the water, and the stores on board. If you weren't, if you're on foot, you'd have the same thing, but in your Bergen, in your rucksack at the back. I was the platoon medic, so I had to make sure that the medical supplies were all there. We didn't have very much. We didn't even have tourniquets at the start, so I had to go to a hardware store and buy some bungee cords to use as tourniquets just in case I needed.
Wow.
In fact, I did. I mean, the bungee is not a very good tourniquet. I'll tell you that. A real tourniquet is what you really need. So I made sure.
How is it you became the medic? Like, did you get training in that, or they just said, "Congratulations, you're it"?
Bit of column A, bit of column B. It was kind of like that.
Okay.
They wanted every platoon to have a medic. And the selection process was, who wants to be a medic? And I said, yeah, I'll do that. And they said, congratulations, you're the medic. So I went to go and do a training course, and they taught you the 4 main parts of battlefield casualty management for the British Army at the time was breathing, bleeding, breaks, and burns. In that time, first, make sure they can breathe, make sure they ain't bleeding. If something's broken, try and fix it. If something's burnt, try and soothe it. So they put you through that course. And so my equipment reflected all of that. And so it wasn't like a Royal Army Medical Corps training standard where it was you do 3 months worth of high intensity training. This was all done in the build-up package so I had to miss out on some of the weapons training, for example, the light machine gun and the 37mm.
Oh, I see. Okay.
I didn't do those. So whilst the rest of the unit was doing specialist weapons training, which would be needed in the city, I was doing the medical training concurrently at the same time as them.
Gotcha. Okay.
So that's what I did, and that was an interesting course. Because the funny thing was, we started the course, but it's so civilian to start with. We were just learning how to do the chest compressions and mouth-to-mouth resuscitations. If someone had just as if someone had collapsed in, that scenario where you walk into an office and on the floor and they say, "Oh, you okay? You okay?" And that's how it started. It started off really, really soft, but in the end, we didn't exercise. It finished off with helicopters and explosions, so it was a lot more.
Oh, no kidding! Wow.
Yeah.
Holy cow! That's pretty realistic training then.
It was, it was realistic training. We were lucky because the Marines were training at the same time as us, so we could use some of their resources to enhance the realism of the scenarios. The Marines are super well funded compared to the infantry, I'll say. The Marines, that's where the money lies. So.
Yeah, well, it's kind of the opposite over here. The Marines get the shitty end of the stick most of the time.
Yeah,
that's funny. So you're the medic, which usually requires you got to carry way more gear than everybody else.
That's right.
Is that maybe the radio man has something extra heavy to carry, but
well, in the British Army, normally the patrol commander is the radio man. So he's so
really
our platoon was only 12. We only had 12 in our platoon. It was a small platoon, half a platoon. So one platoon, or first platoon, as you guys would call, they were full size. Mm-hmm. Second platoon, 2 platoon, they were full size. 3 platoon, which is our platoon, was a half size platoon. So we had an officer, we didn't have a sergeant, and we had a corporal, 2 lance corporals, and the rest, like me, were privates. And each section, which was the lieutenant section, and he had a lance corporal with him. The corporal section and the lance corporal section, the officer and those NCOs, they were the radio men. Who would have been the radio man was, because we were light infantry, often on foot. They carried the ECM, the electronic countermeasures, which is a large rucksack with sent out. It looked like a radio, but it sent out a disruptive signal so that bombs couldn't be remotely detonated. So that's what they would carry instead, and that was really heavy. And it had to carry an air conditioning unit on as well, because it was very, very hot. So not only did it have this heavy unit with a heavy battery, there was also like an air conditioner attached to it to make sure that the electronics didn't overheat. So that's what they were carrying. Then you'd have me, who's the medic. Basically, each section had a specialist guy. You had me, who was a medic. You had the other section, they had the light machine gun, or the sword, the squad automatic weapon. And then you had a rifleman. So that was the basic makeup. You had a patrol commander, an ECM guy, a specialist, and a rifleman in each section of squad. You guys, in each squad of 4 men. But like you said, I was carrying medical stuff. That was over and above, because I was armed like a rifleman as well. I still have my rifle, bayonets, and grenades, and carrying all that as well. Yeah.
Holy cow! That's got to be a little nerve-wracking for you. I mean, you're 19 years old, just fresh out of training, and now you're just thrust into, hey, we're in combat now. Figure it out, sink or swim.
You can train for it, but until you've experienced, you ain't experienced it, have you? So you can do a lot of training. You can do the training in the world. You could do the best training in the world, but you still haven't experienced it. You've got to experience it. That's the only way to get used to it. And so it didn't take long before we went on. We arrived on the 16th of April. By the 16th of May, I was a salty. You guys say salty. I was a salty veteran, right? Within 4 weeks. Yeah.
So it didn't take long for you to get indoctrinated to the fight and everything that was going on there. How long were you in country before you were like in your first firefight and stuff?
Well, my first firefight was I was only in there for exactly 1 month, 4 weeks. But at first contact, we got a lot of IDF within. As soon as we arrived, basically, we were getting indirect fire. IEDs on convoy routes and things like that. So which is obviously something you respond to, but you're not in contact because there's no follow-up. You're preparing for the follow-up, but there never was. But this first contact we had, we sent out the platoon. The officer was sent out on platoon. We had to meet up with some Iraqi policemen. There was supposed to be 4 Iraqi policemen. Only 3 turned up. The 4th one knew better, I'm sure. We had to go to Basra City Hospital. It was the only medical facility in the city that still worked. All the others had gone down through damage, corruption, those sorts of things, and it was the only one that worked. The police knew that someone in a white Toyota pickup truck was going to try and film with a handheld camera around the hospital. So they basically conducting some hostile reconnaissance. So they could take it back and then they could figure out what's the best way to disrupt this hospital.
Right.
Our company commander, the major, said, well, my idea is if we always have British personnel at that hospital, well, then it's going to look like a much, much harder target. So we got sent out and we met up with his Iraqi policeman. This was the first night that was his concept of operations. And this was the first night for that. And so we're doing that. And the police were looking for this guy in a white Toyota pickup truck. And now you've been to Iraq. Every other car is a white Toyota pickup truck.
That's true. So, that's so true.
Either a taxi or a pickup, right? So they were literally stopping every other car. They didn't have any torches and it was getting very dark. So they had to stop them under street lights, the ones that worked. But all of a sudden, I was just taking it easy. I was in a sort of like this, resting on my back on a disused sports field, and no one could see me because it was that dark by then. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, there was this a lot of shooting. I thought, oh my god, someone's shooting, and they'd shot the police. And so I was running towards the police, and one of the police was down on the ground. He'd fallen away from the car, and the officer turned to me and said, sort him out because he was obviously wounded. So I thought, okay, right, this guy's wounded. Primary survey, that's what you do when someone's wounded. You do a primary survey. Where's this guy hurt? I didn't take me long to figure it out because his arm was hanging off. Basically, the shoulder had been blown away. So sort of dangling there. And I thought, breathing, bleeding, breaks and burns. Right, breathing, yeah, he's obviously breathing because he's screaming. Okay, so that means his airway's clear. Right. Bleeding, yeah, he's bleeding a lot. So I got out the first field dressing, stuck this on, blood came straight through. Second field dressing, I put this on, blood came straight through. That's because it's just the tendons here left.
Yeah.
This was all gone. And I thought, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to tourniquet. And when I say tourniquet, what I mean is I'm going to use this bungee strap to try and arrest the bleeding. But there's nothing to purchase up there. So I was doing it, and so I was trying to do this, and then it was like crack, 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 shoom, dum, 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 behind me like this. And I thought, oh my God, I'm going to get yeah. So we managed to arrest the bleeding, and because they were at the hospital, it didn't take long for a couple of hospital security guards to drag this guy into the hospital and his arm. And so I thought, okay, great. Guys, where is everyone? Because I've been so focused on trying to sort out this guy's injury. I lost sight of the thing. I was like, stop the bleeding, stop the bleeding, stop the bleeding. Right, bleeding stopped. Where's the rest of the platoon? So I was like, oh my God, where is everyone? So I called out to my best friend, Lance Corporal Fordy. I said, Fordy, where the fuck are you? Like that. And he called back and says, I'm over the fence. So he jumped over the fence into the hospital grounds because there's lots of cover, like planters and statues and things like that. And the fence, I'm 185 centimeters. That fence was probably like 300 centimeters, 3 meters tall.
Oh, God.
And I said to him, and I said to myself at the same time, how the fuck did you get over there? And he used a very, very naughty word. And he told me to jump over you. Mm-hmm. He said, just and I did. I got over, it's like in the assault course, when you jump and you pull and your feet are sort of like flapping against the wall as you're doing it. Did that. More bullets. Shing, 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 boom, boom. Right? So that encouraged me to fall off the. It's also a long fall, 2 meters, bang, landing. Oh, knocked the wind out of me. Fall behind some cover, and I was like, "Whoa, there's 40." Okay, and then he gave me some fire control orders, and we started whacking the people back. Because what happened is the concept of operations was so bad that it didn't take long for the word to get out. There was a vulnerable British patrol with Iraqi policemen. They did a drive-by. That initiated the contact. That was the guy who got shot. So, and I did that. And they had people on buildings shooting down.
Oh, no kidding. Yeah. Wow.
So it was a pretty poor concept. But once we got into cover, we started returning fire. One of the other lance corporals who had his own section had the light machine gun, and they was malleting the other positions. They were just chewing through the belts of ammunition. So we managed to defeat it that way. But we never found any of their bodies. They had their own casualty extraction. We found their bandages, blood, and bullet cases on the firing positions when we checked them afterwards. We didn't find any of their bodies, but we lost 2 Iraqi policemen were killed, and one went missing. So he was either lifted or ran away. We never heard from him again. So it was an interesting, especially for a 19-year-old. It was an interesting contact.
Wow. And that was your first real major contact?
That was the first real major contact, and that convinced me to start taking the deployment a lot more seriously. Up until then, it was a pretty good fun.
You were just having fun up to that point, huh?
It was just a lad's holiday, and up until then, yeah.
Oh, geez, man, yeah, that's a little bit of a wake up call right there.
That was the first one. We had several contacts throughout, but that's the most memorable because in fact that was the only contact where we took casualties. Well, our platoon, the rest of our obviously did, but those Iraqi policemen were attached to our platoon, and so it could have easily been one of us because they were trying to get us all. I mean, I remember perceptual distortion, the sound of the pavement disintegrating behind me. To me, the sound was like someone dropped a clay flower pot, and I didn't hear the impact of the bullet. I just heard the shattering of the pavement, and I was like, "What's that?" And I turned around. It's almost like slow motion. You see, boom, 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 and you think, and then you think someone's shooting at me. And the first bit of cover I found was a metal newspaper stand. They don't have them so much now. Do you know USA Today newspaper stand?
Oh, yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, bullets going to go straight through that. But that was the first bit of cover I thought, and I was like, no, this isn't going to work. And that's when I had to go and try and 540 and jumped over the fence. And I got behind basically a meter tall concrete planter. Didn't have any plants in it, but it was a meter tall and it was made of concrete. So that's obviously going to reduce the velocity of anything that came. That was a lot more sensible.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, man. That is definitely a wake up. Now, as time was going on though, like how often would you say, like you were probably getting a lot of indirect fire? Probably fire. Daily.
Yeah, daily, if not every day or two. Yeah. So we got that either whilst we were on patrol or into the palace itself. But the palace was so wide, you know, it's like trying to. It's very, very hard to hit something accurately, especially with improvised mortars and these Katyusha 107s, basically just being launched from the backs of trucks and things. So we didn't get too much problems from that because the base was so wide and our accommodation was hardened. So it was it was loud more than it was dangerous when the IDF came in.
Yeah. And then, so like, how often were you, like, when you're on patrol, how often are you getting hit?
When we're on patrol, you wouldn't get hit every patrol because, well, initially it was a lot more dangerous because we'd, like I said, we used to have 5 tasks, and the powers that be realized that we were under resourced, so they got some PMCs who used to be Gurkhas basically to take over the guard duty and the gate duty and the towers and things like that, which meant that the infantry could just focus on the pure infantry tasks of patrolling. So it became a much harder target later on in the tour because we'd replaced we started off with soft skin vehicles with riot equipment. We replaced them with the armored Land Rovers at the end, which had you know, built-in ECM, and we started carrying heavier weaponry and making the patrol considerably harder to use. When we'd started the patrols, we'd literally been doing the Northern Ireland thing. We didn't have helmets, we were wearing berets to do it. We'd done Arabic courses, so we were encouraged to interact with the locals. I could speak. I've always been a bit of a polyglot, so I enjoyed the Arabic courses. So I was always trying to speak to the locals and those sorts of things, as if it was Belfast or Crossmaglen or something like that. Them doing the British Army's low intensity hearts and minds operation. Well, you know, that didn't work. It didn't work at all, and so it just evolved into a hard infantry domination patrol. You know, to really try to disrupt or detect activity before it happened. And we were doing a lot of that, and we really were disrupting and detecting a lot of activity, just pushing, keep creating a sterile zone where it was very, very hard for them to operate. And initially, we didn't have that. As the strategy changed, we were getting contacted less because we were becoming a much, much harder target.
Yeah. Wow, man, that's pretty wild. I'm going to pause it real quick if you don't mind. All right, we're back here. I apologize. Had power issues, everyone. We're back. We're good. So.
Okay, so where were we?
You had just the first firefight, then moving in is you were talking about how you were able to get more and more better equipment and get more, you know, I guess, better equipment. Yeah.
The strategy evolved over time. But it didn't make us immune to contact. It still happened. So when we did get contacted, we were contacted by something which wasn't spontaneous. That first one, it had all the hallmarks of being a spontaneous contact. And so what happened then, we started getting hit by basically pre-planned ambushes that they evolved in response to what we were doing as well. And we evolved. So it was a mutual escalation in action as far as I could tell as a private, because literally I was a private. Like I said, privates, just think about yourself. You're very, very private. That's what I was doing. I was focusing very much on that.
Yeah. Well, it's important.
Yeah,
you gotta be able to have the privates focus on themselves to be able to get through it, and this part of it, you know,
best rank in the military, as far as I'm concerned, anyway. So
well, it's you don't have to take charge. You can just sit there and listen, say, hey, do this, okay, and you go do that, and it makes it pretty simple.
Even then, you don't have to listen too hard, do you?
It's true. They'll say it again. That's funny. Oh, man. All right. Well, talk me through some more of your experiences and stuff.
Okay. I'll tell you, we were talking about how it escalated then. We talked about the spontaneous ambush. What happened was we lost our storeman, actually. I'll tell you how that happened, and I'll talk about some of these other ones because, you know, normally, because we're a self-contained company, you'd have... normally a unit would have its support arms, but because we're basically an isolated outpost at Basra Palace, we were the only British unit there. We were self-contained. We had a signals section. We had a store section as well, and spare trousers, boots, that's ammunition, batteries, all those sorts of things. Well, they needed to do a resupply, so they had to go out to a place called Shaiba, which is the RAF base, the logistics hub.
Okay.
So after the planes, the C-130s would come in, drop off all the stuff, and fly out back to Cyprus, and then Cyprus to England. It's just a very serving personnel and equipment. Well, we need more equipment. Of course you do. You've got a lot of consumables going through, haven't you? You need everything from beans to bullets, don't you? So doing that, convoy was organized, and it was a four-vehicle convoy. You had a snatch Land Rover at the front, 2 4-ton trucks in the middle. What the Americans call 4-ton, like deuce and a half or something, 2.5 or
Okay.
something.
Yeah.
Those sorts of things. And then a snatch at the rear. So a very small convoy, because the drive is only about 40 minutes from the city. You go through a little bit of the city, and then you're out in basically the desert, which is a safe place to be, because you can see for miles. It's very, very hard to ambush in the desert. Even the road is just baked white sand, or salt in this case, just completely baked. So if there's something on the road, you can see it 100 meters away, discoloration, dug a hole, you think, well, there's a bomb in there. So it's a very safe place to be. The only difficult bit is the small bit of city section exiting the city, and then when you come back, going through it. So day patrol or night patrol unit, they would secure that area before the vehicles came and went, and those sorts of things. Now, that didn't happen on this occasion for whatever reason. Maybe the platoon had been assigned something else, or maybe there's another incident. I don't know, because I was on a different task at the time. But the vehicles went out, and then on the way back, the front snatch Land Rover got hit by an RPG, and it just exploded. So the entire crew was killed.
Oh wow!
So they were just gone. And the follow-up small arms fire hit the second vehicle, which had the CQMS, which is the quartermaster sergeant. He was the vehicle commander and the security guy. So he was standing basically out of the hatch with his rifle. And the store's corporal, who was his second in command, he was driving. The quartermaster, he got shot in the stomach, and it just basically exploded over the cab. Everything fell out.
Jeez.
No good. And then so the corporal, who is obviously the quartermaster's incapacitated. So the corporal's taking charge of the convoy now, which is now only 3 vehicles, 2 trucks and 1 snatch. He turned them around and got them back out into the desert. And the closest support unit was actually from the Royal Air Force, and they sent their security force in to secure the area. They recovered the vehicle, secured the area so that the convoy could complete it. Despite you've had casualties, you still got to complete that mission.
Yeah.
The convoy went in. They dropped off the quartermaster at the logistics hub, and he got evacuated back to England. He survived. So somehow, because when we saw the cab of the truck, there were still bits of the quartermaster in there. That's how much he'd been shot up.
Holy cow!
Brought the truck back with all the supplies, and the corporal, he was really shook. In fact, unfortunately, he was so shook up by it, he had a heart attack and died a few months after. He just never got over it, and the stress and so
wow.
So he
was that while he was still deployed?
Literally, as soon as he got back.
Oh, no kidding! Wow.
Yeah, he finished the deployment, and he was so shook up. It was a terrible thing. And he's a really, really nice guy. He was from Gloucester, same as me. He worked in the same factory as much, because remember, this is a reservist unit, so everyone knows everyone, and that's kind of different to reservists. You not only are you soldiers together, you're civilians together. He worked in the same factory as my uncle, my father's brother. They worked in the undercarriage factory together. And so I found out from him that he died. But that was a hell of a contact, because we didn't even get to when I say we, they didn't even get to return fire. They just drove in, bam, everything was confused, and he just did a looping turn and got out whilst the remaining snatch, which is the armored vehicle, provided cover for it. But that was pre-planned, because they had enough resources to actually get some decent firing positions, and there were no civvies around. They'd warned off the local people that something was going to happen. And when we had heard the debriefing after, all the pre-contact indicators were there, but for some reason they didn't realize. So that was a pretty nasty one.
Wow. That's a
so
tough lesson to learn there.
It was a tough lesson to learn. And the thing is, because what they hadn't done, what they neglected to do, was to send in that security platoon to clear the area before the convoy went in. It was simple. It was as simple as that. I can't remember who said it, but got a new guest.
Sorry. I'm not in my office where I can close the door. So
so the saying is, we have to be lucky all the time. They just have to be lucky once. I can't remember who said that, but that was very much the situation there. And we stacked the odds against us in that instance. And that wasn't the first time he'd made a mistake. There was a second time where our lieutenant, you say lieutenant, we say lieutenant, he messed up. He took us on a night patrol, and he wanted to patrol a market the only way to get into that market was literally down a one-way street, and taking armored vehicles down a one-way street. You're not doing a three-point turn to get out of there if something happens.
No.
But he took us down there, and it was only a 2-vehicle patrol as well. But it was at night time. I remember it because the market had to go past like an old fairground, which looked really sort of spooky. Ever since the start of Terminator 2, everything's on fire.
Oh yeah.
Kids playground items on fire.
Yeah.
It had all those sorts of things like spring-loaded rocking horses or pigs and things, and a big Ferris wheel that was all rusty. And every time I went past it, I thought, it's just like the Terminator. Well, I went past it this time at night, and I was thinking exactly the same thing. And as soon as that thought exited in my head, an RPG came. It landed between the front and the middle vehicle, front and rear vehicles. It missed both of us somehow. And
Wow.
it blew up the wall on this one-way street. So all the debris just flew out because we were standing out of the hatch to boom straight over. I had night vision on. The night vision got knocked off by a brick. It was going shoo. It took the night vision off my helmet. But we could see where the small arms fire, because there was immediate small arms fire coming afterwards. So we were shooting them back. And as we were trying to exit the area, we had to loop around. We couldn't do a 3-point turn. The drivers just put the foot down and started going, not getting a sight picture. But I managed to see a guy with a rocket-propelled grenade launcher sort of like running to change position. And I thought, you're not going to get away with this. And I was like, bum, bum, bum. So we gave him. So I hit him, or the guy who was with me, he had the light machine gun. He saw him too.
Yeah.
So just sent it to them. We managed to get enough fire down. And we got a lot of fire, as you would, in order to extract that situation. I remember that because with us that time, one of our guys was sick. He had DNV. He got his hands dirty and eating a tummy ache. So we had a spare guy from one platoon, first platoon, come and join us. And he hadn't ever been in a contact before. One platoon had been really, really lucky. Every time they've been on patrol, nothing happened. And this was 5 months in now. We're coming towards the end of the tour.
Oh,
and as soon as we got out the vehicles, he was like, sick all over the place. Of course, us being salty veterans, like I say, well, what's the matter with you? What are you doing sick? And he was like,
Nice. It's good to know that every military, they like to pick on people and give them a hard time.
Well, my nickname was Princess. I got used to it. A very, very unlikely soldier. Okay, I'm vegetarian. I don't like meat. I haven't eaten meat for 8 years. Infantryman doesn't eat meat. Don't go to barbecue. Right? I get grumpy when I don't get a full night's sleep. So it's like the princess and the pea. Oh, didn't you sleep very well, princess? That sort of thing. It just became my nickname. So I was a very unlikely infantryman as well. You take the piss, you take the pitch, you get used to it. Princess to me, it was a term of endearment. It was a nice name.
There you go.
But it starts off as an horrible thing, doesn't it? And then it finishes up as a nice thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Holy cow. So you were over there how long? How long was the deployment?
A British tour is 6 months. Aircrew do 4 month tours, and everyone else does a 6 month tour.
Okay. Wow. Interesting.
So that takes from April to October, which was this, like I said, the same time as the whole Fallujah and Mosul things.
Right. Yeah. Holy cow. Now, how far is Basra from the Fallujah area? Do you know?
Well, I can ask Google, because I got my computer here. Fallujah to Basra in Americans use kilometers, so I'll put that in kilometers instead of miles. Fallujah to is a 5-hour drive. It's 573 kilometers.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's not too bad, I suppose.
Given the size of the country, that's quite short.
Yeah. It's pretty large. Yeah.
Yeah, Iraq's huge, especially compared to England. So.
Oh yeah. Wow. Now, what were some of the lessons learned for you on the deployment? Like, what did you take from it?
What I take from it, well, first of all, like I said, the most immediate thing was I learned, you have to be a good soldier. You just can't say, oh, I like being a soldier. This is nice. I'm wearing green. I'm playing hide and seek. That had to change. Right? You got to be a good soldier. You don't survive by accident. You survive by being good, don't you? So that's the first thing. And that first contact definitely changed my outlook. But it makes you mature very quickly. When I went out, I was like a 19-year-old boy. I came home as a 20-year-old man, if you know what the difference is. I was princess before, but I was a completely changed person by the time I'd come back in persona and charisma and in outlook as well. Sort of had that mentality then is, you're going to miss every shot you don't take, so you don't let opportunities pass you by, don't you? So sometimes you think, oh, I don't want to do that. Oh, I'm scared about doing that. Oh, I'm nervous about this. I'm nervous about it. Well, I still was, but I also knew that if I didn't take those opportunities, then I wouldn't be able to, I would still. If you don't change yourself, then you won't change your life. And that's how I managed to get into the nuclear industry as a policeman. It's basically a SWAT team. I got to do missions out to places like Charleston in America, Kobe in Japan, Cherbourg in France, with the British government. So, and that all comes from the mindset of this 19-year-old who went out to Iraq and matured very, very quickly in the space of 6 months.
So you went from once you got back, you were still in finance.
Yeah.
How long? Like, what was the transition for you going from finance to the security aspect?
Well, that was it was less than a year before I applied, but my application was accepted, so it was about a year since coming back. About a year, just over a year, including the application period before I managed to start training. So I had intentions on leaving straight away. I was going to go into law enforcement of some sort, or the full-time. I was actually thinking about joining the military police. But I joined the nuclear industry's police force, which is the Civil Nuclear Constabulary is the name. It's the UK's most heavily armed police force. Got miniguns, 50 cals, 30mm auto cannons, all sorts of good things. So
are you serious? Wow.
Yeah,
it's a good deal.
Very, very secretive. Well, not secretive. It's just not known. Police force, and with a lot of specialist tasks. A lot of it is standby SWAT teams at power stations and facilities. I wasn't in that. I was in the escort unit, so I went over because I live in Japan. So when you say over the pond, I'm over the Pacific pond. And that's why I live and work now. Obviously, being able to speak Japanese in the nuclear industry is very, very useful. And so, an escort team that does regular business with the Japanese, well, that's a good idea. So that's and the opportunity came. So if you don't take the chance, you're not going to get the chance again, are you? You may not. So I went ahead and did, and it was a very good. I was 11 years behind the badge before moving out here full time. So it's wow.
Now, maybe I'm getting ahead, but what brought you to Japan? Like, what is it? The nuclear aspect of it, or something else?
Well, I'm not a nerd or a geek. I'm not into anime or Japanese pop culture as such, but I am interested in Japan. I'm interested in the language, the history, those sorts of things. And my wife is Japanese as well.
Okay.
And we met in the UK. She was studying as a student in the UK, agriculture as it matters, matter of fact. And we'd met there, but she didn't want to work in England. She couldn't find a career path that suited her in England. So we decided, well, I've done my combat tour with the army, and I'm still in this training role, which is going nowhere. I'm not going to get any promotion or anything out of this because it's a reservist role essentially with a full, so it's not going anywhere. The police, I'd done 11 years behind the badge, and promotion aspect would mean moving to a different site, different unit, those sorts of things. So those opportunities existed, and this opportunity to move to Japan existed. Decided to go to Japan for the sake of my wife. She wanted to get a career, and I managed to get a job as a university lecturer here as well. So it's,
nice.
So it's worked out. Like I said, you miss every shot that you don't take, don't you? So I took that shot.
Yeah.
Luckily, I hit again. So it's
wow. That's really cool.
I do now.
Awesome. Wow. Well, I guess let's go back and talk about the rest of your time in, and then what happened once you got out. I know we talked a little bit about it, but kind of go through everything.
Yeah. Right. So I'll tell you one of the most interesting things. I mean, when you were, in fact, I'll ask you a question. I know you're the interviewer, but I'll ask you a question. Just as American forces in general, when you finish a tour, is there any sort of decompression or anything like that? Once you finish, do you get to have some time to yourself, time to enjoy?
Sometimes it just depends. In the earlier stages of the war, we didn't really get a bunch of that. It was get back, get ready for the next one and go. And so that didn't really happen a whole lot. But over the years, they've learned that, hey, we need the decompression stuff. So they've gotten better at it. I won't say it's perfect, but
that was the same for us, because we came back. And this is the funny thing. we were expecting decompression because the previous unit had it, and we were expecting to go to Cyprus because Cyprus is literally on the way home. There's a British base in Cyprus. Normally, it's used for adventure training and border security between Greece and Turkey. We were expecting that. No, we just flew straight back to rainy old England. I was wearing desert fatigues. Arrived. It was raining because it rains every day in England. And literally, I cleaned my rifle and I went home back to Gloucester, which is rural. And I couldn't sleep because of the cows kept me awake. It's funny. I could sleep in Basra. The sounds of the guys who are operating the IFVs, they were trap bashing, testing the engines, loading ammunition. It's noisy as hell. I could sleep through that. Okay. Got back to England as the cows braying, and I couldn't sleep.
Yeah.
It took me a while to get over it. But we were called in, mandate. We had to go in. It was like they said, you've got to come into the TA center because we're going to give you some decompression. I'm like, oh, great. So we are getting decompression after all. You know what the decompression was? It gave you $10 and said, go to the pub. So I give you 10 pounds. And say, okay, yeah. That was the
wow.
But on paper, they could say, yeah, they've had decompression. But so we basically lined up, and the captain, we all lined up. So on parade like this, attention because it's say okay, I won't stand at ease like that. You give a speech, right? And he just walked and gave everyone a 10 pounds, or you say $10, just a bill like that. Right, go to the pub. Okay.
Wow.
Afterwards, we had to come and sleep the hangover off in the TA center. You couldn't go home. They wanted to make sure that you spent the night at the TA center. So
right.
Some of them, the £10 really just subsidized the drinking. These guys, they really took the piss with it. So they drank Gloucester dry that night. There was
wow,
not many bars with running taps after that night. I can tell you, that was that's how we came back. It was an odd way to come back. It was surreal. The return was more surreal than the deployment because the deployment was layered. It was like this call-up notice came. Okay, that's a surprise, but everything went from simple to complex. And then we arrived in theatre, and whether it's through fortune or chance, the combat went from low intensity to high intensity. So that was gradual as well. So the training was gradual, the deployment was gradual, and then we came back and it was just poof, straight down. There was no sort of easing back into civilian life. And I had a couple of months off, bought a motorbike, crashed it because that's what you do. And then I was back at the bank. I had all this money left over.
Yeah.
The thing with the reserves in England, you're not paid as a private. You're paid what you got in your civvy job, in your civilian job. So I was taking home rockstar wages.
Holy cow.
So when you're deployed, so you don't lose out, I was getting banker money. Our corporal was an attorney, so he was getting more money than the officers, despite being a corporal. So the army makes up the wage. So all this 6 months worth of banking money I had, less bonuses, they didn't include the bonuses, was significant. A sports car and a motorbike. Of course, I crashed the bike. I eventually ended up crashing the car as well. That was a I crashed the bike not long after. That was very, very painful.
What kind of bike was it?
It was an Aprilia sports bike, RSV Millie.
Oh,
so
yeah.
It was, pretty, too powerful for someone my age. As it proved. And I never learned my lesson because I bought a Kawasaki a few years after I crashed that.
Oh, jeez.
I don't ride bikes anymore. I'm not very good at it. So.
Oh, man. Wow. Yeah, that's the decompression thing is, in my opinion, very important. It needs to happen. And they're getting better at it, I think, over time. They've learned, and I don't know. It's not perfect.
The Brits just saw it as like another Northern Ireland. And of course, Northern Ireland is part of the UK. So it's seen as a domestic deployment, a security operation. And the senior officers had all cut their teeth, had all learned their craft there. So they were just doing what they'd been exposed to, what they'd been trained for, and what they knew about. And the situation, ostensibly, it was the same. Because remember, Northern Ireland, that's the Catholics and the Protestants having at each other with a kind of border dispute in the middle. Okay, well, Iraq's not too different. You had the Sunnis and the Shias having at each other with the Iranian border running. So on paper, you could draw a lot of parallels. Just culturally, the situation that wasn't taken into account. Okay, maybe it's religion, but it's a little bit more diehard at times. I would say, being politically correct. So
that's a good point.
They applied that knowledge, and they had to change to, actually we need to do something that's more counterinsurgency than security. So that's what we did.
Yeah. And then, so once you got back, you did your decompression, and then, you just go back to work, right? Back at the bank.
Back to the desk. Yeah, back to the bank desk, which was odd. Someone asked me how was it. He said, how was Iraq, Matt? And I said, oh yeah, well the targets were easier to hit. And that was true. They were easier to hit. Banking targets are difficult. Human targets, not so much.
Yeah.
So and my normal reply was, if people would say, "Oh, how was it?" And I say it was hot and smelly. As you know, it's hot and smelly.
Yeah. So you're not lying. That's true.
Don't go into too much details. And then the other cliche question is, "Hey, Matt, did you shoot anyone?" I'm like, "Well, I don't know. I shot at people. It's not a computer game where you get feedback. It says Matt ragged so and so, or you plus 10 points."
Right.
If you're close enough to see, you're close enough to see. You know that. But normally there's a bit of distance as cover, and if it lands near to them, like it lands near to me, you go down just as fast as you've been shot, just to make sure you get cover. So whether you've hit them or not, or you wounded them, whether your mate hit them, you don't know. So if someone says, "Matt, did you shoot anyone?" I say, "Well, I shot at them. I don't know if I shot them." So it's
right. Yeah.
But that's
a good way of saying it, though.
I think so. Yeah, that's what it was like going back. How was it? Oh, it was hot and smelly. Oh, did he shoot anyone? Well, and tell me this, tell me that, and trying to describe it to people who have not been in that situation. I mean, it's very, very easy for me to give you an anecdote about someone's shoulder being blown off, and you getting it immediately. If I say that to someone in the bank, and me smiling, saying, "Oh, yeah," and it didn't work. And "Why are you smiling? This guy's dying." And I say, it's just gallows humor. That's how you survive the military. Humor is a part of the language. If you don't speak the language, you shouldn't be in the job. So that was
very true.
Very, very hard to explain what you're doing to bank and finance employees, but speaking to other veterans, well, it's a lot smoother, a lot easier.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow. And but you didn't stay in the bank for very long at that point, because you had applied. So like a little over a year, you said, right?
Yeah, a little over a year. So I applied for the Civil Nuclear Constabulary, which is, like I said, the UK's heaviest armed police force. I did 2 years on the beat as a patrolman, and I was straight into their Special Operations Team, which is the strategic escort group doing worldwide secret missions, dropping off the most toxic material in the world, even to places like Charleston in America. So
no kidding.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we had an American plus as well. So from Ramstein, flying over their C-130s to pick up secrety and dangerous things from our hidden airports. Very interesting.
Yeah. Wow. Huh. It is interesting. I have to pick your brain on that offline here sometime. But so when was it that you became a lieutenant?
So I started my training to get commissions around about the same time that I applied for the police at the same time.
Okay.
So I moved this year because I was still very, very young. So I was like 21 at that time. And so I did that. I had to go through the full training package, which is basically happening at weekends. So you're earning your commission a weekend at a time. And so that took 3 years for me to do. Wow. So I got commissioned when I was 24. And that was 2008. So I got commissioned then. And then I did the 4 years. So it's a very strange sort of time. So you say I did 12 years, but you got to remember that middle section was literally just doing weekends and an occasional week every now and then, along with a university unit. And it didn't really feel like the army, despite you were wearing a uniform, you had a badge that said you were in a regiment. It was more like a club than it was a unit. But then afterwards, when I got the commission, you go to Sandhurst, which is the same as American equivalent of West Point or whatever, I guess. You do a full-time course with the full-time staff, which is pass or fail. You have to pass every element, get a parade, get a certificate, and then you get assigned wherever you're going. Most people were assigned to where they chose. They were sponsored by a unit. I didn't have that luxury because of the conflict of interest, and they knew about that conflict of interest. And they said, "Well, we've invested a lot of time and money in getting you to this point. We're not going to let you go. Once you've you've got your commission. You can't just say, right, resign the day after. So we're going to get something out of you. And the first thing that happened was they trained me the RMQ, the range management qualification. So I got sent down to a training base that actually did most of our Iraq training on. So I was very familiar with the place, and I got trained up as a range conducting officer, so I could start running ranges. And that basically my first year as an officer was conducting, being an officer supervising NCOs as they did range training packages for reservists and cadets who were getting their first taste with their firearms as well. So it was good because I was commissioned. It was a long held ambition of mine, but it was boring. I knew I wasn't going to be going anywhere. It's like just being on the range.
Yeah.
It's fun initially, isn't it? But when it's the same, it's the same chicken with different gravy every time, isn't it? Nothing's going to change it very much. You've got to get
so.
work. I did that for a few years, and then, like I said, I resigned the commission, and then a few years after that, left the police and came up to Japan. Wow,
man, that's pretty cool. And since you've been in Japan, like you've been working at the university, what else is going on?
Well, I do lots in Japan. I've been on a TV show in Japan because there's always nice to find always hard to find. Well, I'll tell you how that came about because that's quite funny. So this TV show was set in post-war Japan. So it's 1946, and they wanted an American actor to play an American officer, and he was the bad guy basically. And none of the American actors wanted bad guy on their CV. Now, I'm not an actor, but someone I know knew me. I used to be in the army, and they say, "Hey Matt, do you want to do an acting thing?" It's only a few scenes. It used to be in there. No, we can't find anyone to do it. I say, "Yeah, fine." I didn't even get paid for it. They just gave me my lunch, and I got to keep the uniform because I'm big. Yeah, so they let me keep the uniform. I got free lunch out of it, but they needed someone to play, and there was no actor prepared to have bad guy. I don't have a CV, so it made no difference to me. And so I did that.
Wow, that's cool.
My job has been teaching. I teach in the Faculty of Education at a university here because I was a training officer in the army. I had a lot of, along with the military qualifications, I got the civilian qualifications. They translate quite nicely because all my students aren't kids; they're adults, they're 18 and over. Teaching them to become teachers in Japan. They'll go on to become kindergarten, primary school.
I see.
Those sorts of things in Japan. But
interesting.
It's interesting. And I've started writing books as well. I've got two books. One of them is available actually now from a very famous American store called Barnes & Noble. Have you heard of Barnes & Noble and Target? You don't have them in
I've heard of those. Yeah. I may have been to one. I don't know.
Yeah. You probably can't see it. Oh, there's me. It's called Basra and Back. And it has all the stories plus a load of the other ones we've had. I'll send you a link for it actually. In fact, I'll send you a copy. In fact, I'll send you two copies, one for you, and then you can use one as a competition. So if someone comments on one of your posts, you can select the winner at random. I'll send you. I got some copies I can send out to the States.
Okay, yeah, that sounds good. Now, real quick, I'm going to put it in a banner here as soon as I can figure out how to do this. What was the name of it again?
Basra and Back. So BASRA and Back, and that's at Barnes & Noble and Target. I've got it as well, actually.
Oh well, it's going to be a pain in my butt. Okay, it's okay. I can do this. I can do it. There we go.
That's it. Yeah.
There you go. So is that the first book? Or
that's the second book, actually. The first book I wrote, pretty much for plenty of time, is I wrote about the secret world of nuclear policing because no one's ever done it before. So my first book is actually called Nuclear Copper. That's quite a cool name.
That's a good name for it.
It's about nuclear policing. It's never been spoken about before. It's never been written about before. And it's funny. I wrote the book. I started writing the manuscript, and at the same time, I spoke to the legal team at the Constabulary, and I said, "Hey, look, I got a problem. Can I write this book? Can you supply me with any information?" And they said, "No problem. You can't use any of our photos. Though you can only use the personal ones from your library," which is fine because I quite a lot of them anyway. And then the book got released, and then the legal team got in touch with me and said, "You didn't tell us you were writing a book." And I said, "I knew you were going to do that. That's why I kept the emails." And so I sent them all the emails, and I never heard back from them ever again. But because working in the police, I know how short the memory is, and I thought, this is going to come. I'll tell them straight away, and they'll say yes, because I'm not talking about, the book is narrative driven. It's not a textbook about how the nuclear industry works. It's about how a police officer operates in that environment. In this case, me. And the narrative is the nuclear industry. So it's narrative, non-fiction. So they said, well, you never told you to write in a book. I said, knew you were going to do that. I totally knew it. So I sent them back all the emails and said, well, there you go. He just said, and they said, he didn't say anything back in return, but I can imagine them saying, oh yeah, we did say that, didn't we? So I didn't have a military book. Everyone said, yeah, good book, well done. But the nuclear police, short memory in the police, I thought, this definitely going to happen. So it's that's experience. That's something else you learn from the military, isn't it? You do belts and braces. Belts and braces.
Yeah. That's right. You gotta have the documentation, you know. People have short-term memory, so
especially in the British police for some reason. It's
or is it selective memory? Maybe is that what it is? Selective memory. Yeah,
that's it. Yeah, same problem in America. I don't know the American police. It seems a little bit different. Although I have worked with the U.S. coppers a few times. During the time I was with the police, and I worked with the American military as well. I met some lads from the 101, 101st Airborne. They were in Kuwait, on the Kuwaiti border at the same time as we were, and because we used the Kuwaiti border all the time, there's a 101st Airborne were there quite a lot. In fact, we went to an American base called Camp Doha in Kuwait. If you know that location. I've ever been to an American base. My God, you guys know how to do bases, don't you? How to swim pool and everything. You know, I had my first Coca-Cola in 4 months when I got there. I was like, they've got Coke? What, really? You know, so I bought a load of those things. I was swimming. I didn't have any swimming shorts. I only had my skivvies. So I jumped in the pool with the skivvies. It wasn't long before an MP said, excuse me, son, you can't swim in your underwear. And I said, what? Why not? It's covering the same bits. And he says, go to the PX and pick up some shorts. And I said, what's a PX? So that happened at Camp Doha. You know, someone complained because the skivvies, they don't leave much to they don't leave much to imagination, do they? Especially when they're wet. But that's all I had. And I was like, cold water, whoosh, bang, in we go.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, that's a good story too, man. You're full of good stories.
Well, that's why I wrote them down so that I wouldn't forget them. I mean, if they get forgotten, they get forgotten, don't they? If they get remembered, it's not so much better. It adds to the rich history of life, whether it's mine or the UK's or the culture of the British Army. You got to write it down. You got to keep it alive, haven't you? That's why you're doing this project, I'm sure.
Absolutely. But man, so you got 2 books that people can get. Now, is the other book sold here in America as well, or it is? Yeah.
That's Barnes & Noble have picked that one up as well. Target, Amazon, they've all got it. Amazon is actually the best place to get. In fact, Basra and Back is on discount at Amazon at the moment. In America, not in the UK. In America, it's discounted at the moment. So that's a good option. But like I said, I'll send you a copy for you to enjoy yourself. And I'll send you a second copy. You can run a competition or give it away. Thank people for putting up with me for the past hour or so in my noisy, limey accent.
No, it's been fantastic, man. This is great. Oh, man. Well, shoot. Is there anything else that you want to talk about? Maybe something we missed or anything like that?
There's nothing I can think to add, but you can. I'm an open book. You can ask me anything you want, and I'll tell you what you want to hear. Otherwise, it's been a very interesting hour and a bit.
Yeah. Well, I always have questions at the end. I call them my rapid fire questions. Although I don't know how rapid fire they are, but they're questions that I always ask everybody.
Okay.
All right. I got to pull them up here. I got to get to it. You know, it sucks getting older.
Oh, tell me about it. My knees used to be great. And now I'm 42. My knees are 72. It's terrible.
I understand that. All right. What is your proudest military moment?
Oh, that's easy. So during that firefight where the policeman got shot, there was a second policeman as well, and he'd been wounded. Like I said, they got taken into the hospital. But you ever seen Forrest Gump? He picks them up and runs them to the river, picks them up and runs them. Well, basically, I had to do that to get them to the hospital gate. So I moved this first Iraqi casualty close enough to the gates to get brought in. Then I ran out to pick up the second casualty and brought him back to the gates. And then I found myself behind that newspaper stand and looking for cover, so I ran them back in. But I got the British equivalent of the Silver Star for that.
No kidding.
yeah, so I got a letter from the general commanding the regiment, the general commanding the British Army at the time, the chief of the staff. And so I was given that commendation, which I keep in a shoebox under the bed. I don't wear it. But that's definitely my proudest moment. I'm not proud of the award. I'm proud of the moment, because I can tangibly say that I made a difference and that it was recognized. There was only 2 people in our company who got an award. The first guy was Sergeant Paul Reeves. He was the second platoon sergeant. He got shot in the chest. His armor stopped the round, and he just got straight back up and carried on leading the attack. But they let him keep the plate, and it's got a 7.62 round in the.
No kidding! Wow.
Yeah, he keeps it on his mantelpiece in his fire. I still talk to him. Paul Reeves. He's a nutcase. I mean, he was a nuts before, but he's absolutely crazy now. I mean, he's but he's really, really funny guy. So we were the 2 who got the awards. He got shot and got straight back up. And then me, I didn't get shot, but the guys I was with, but I managed to run him out of there and rejoin the set.
That's amazing.
So that's my proudest military moment.
Yeah. I don't know. That makes sense, man. You should be proud of that. That's incredible. Wow. All right. Let's see here. What is your most embarrassing military moment?
There's a lot of them. Why do you think I'm called Princess? There's a lot of embarrassing moments. Yeah. I mean, I am a chatterbox. And I'll talk. I got a lot of embarrassing moments, but I'll keep it relevant to Iraq. So we had a brigadier. That's a 1-star general, a brigadier general. We just call it a brigadier. Mm-hmm. He was coming to visit our company location. He was basically the district commander. And my accent is a flat British accent, a normal one. Most of our soldiers, they got regional accents. They sound like Hagrid from Harry Potter. So they're very, very, very different. Okay. It's been in the Southwest, so it's a bit like in America, have regional accents, and sometimes they're very, very difficult to understand. Well, a lot of ours were. And the sergeant major, he came up to me and he said, "Matt, you're a chatty twat, aren't you?" And I said, "Yes, sir." And he said, "Well, okay, I'm going to stand you there. And when that brigadier wants a cup of tea and he wants a biscuit, cookie, you make him a cup of tea and you give him a biscuit." So I was assigned, even though I was an infantryman and a medic, and we had more important things to do by virtue of having a normal or understandable British accent and being overly talkative to just about anyone. He said, "Matt, you are on tea duty." And you know what? In general, he didn't want a cup of tea. So I said, "Oh, hello, sir. How are you?" He said, "You would like a cup of tea?" I was like, "No." And he just walked on straight away. His bodyguard did. His bodyguard, he was more talkative than the general. So I was assigned basically to make tea for the general's bodyguard. And that was not a very nice task. I had better things to do. But you can't say no to the sergeant major, especially our sergeant major, because he was really scary. So he used to threaten me all the time because I was just so uptight. And he said, "Stop that. I'm going to rip your arms off. I'm going to beat you with the soggy end. Now go and do your job." So, if he said jump, you said how high. So it's, I did. Yeah.
That's awesome. Oh, man, that's a good one. All right. If you could be one military leader for a day, who would that be?
A military leader for a day? Oh, gosh. Probably, you won't know the guy. He's a SAS squadron commander, Lieutenant General Sir Cedric Delves. He fought in the Falklands and he went to become on the chief of operations for all British military special forces. He's written a really interesting book. He's a really interesting guy. Does a lot for charity as well. So not only is he an excellent soldier, he's a really philanthropic guy. He does a lot for people.
That's
so
awesome.
If I was going to be a military leader, in fact, so Cedric Delves, I saw you've got a pet dog. I've got a pet dog. My dog is called Cedric, named after that.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay. Good answer, man. Good answer. What is one lesson or skill you learned that you still use today?
Yeah, sleep anywhere. Yeah, if you get tired, you can sleep. Yeah, that's an infantry skill. It doesn't have to be a bed. It could be a shell skip. It can be a trench. It can be a train station bench. It can be anywhere. If you can get 20 minutes shut-eye, then you get 20 minutes shut-eye. That's a very good thing. The other skills that I've learned is those medical skills. I've used them. I've used them twice here in Japan. First time was I found a passed out, unconscious Oji-san, an old man. He'd been walking in the summer, of obviously suffering from a little bit of dementia, and he'd gone missing. So I found him and managed to bring him back to consciousness, get enough detail so I could do a 911 call and get the relevant people out.
Wow.
And the second time, someone crashed their push bike into my garden, my front garden, smashed the front teeth out, and I managed to arrest the bleeding and treat them before the ambulance turned up as well. So those military skills, those medical skills that I learned when I was 19, still using them in my 40s.
Wow. Yeah, that's a good point. It sticks with you, I suppose, huh?
Yeah.
All right. In the zombie apocalypse, what will be your weapon of choice and what anthem will be playing?
My weapon of choice. In Japan, I'm bilingual. I'm part of a samurai display team. So I've got samurai armor, swords. I've even got a Hinawaju. It's a Japanese matchlock gun, which was made in 1776, a very important year for the Americans, as I understand it. So my matchlock gun was made then. It's a 14.5 caliber, so it's definitely a man stopper. 14.5 millimeter, so it's definitely a man stopper or a zombie stopper. It just doesn't fire that quickly, once every 30 seconds or so when you're loading it. That would be interesting. Zombies versus samurai. You can, if anyone's interested, you can look up the website because I've done a bilingual website. It's Guns Samurai is one word, guns and samurai put together. We do displays all around the country, target shooting displays. It's not like American Civil War reenactments because that's not allowed with guns. It's allowed with swords. We had a shooting display team, so we do target shooting and things like that. So that would be my initial answer. But of course, if it really was a zombie apocalypse, like anything, you need a shotgun, don't you? Really? I mean, it's going to put them down and keep them down. Especially if it's the kind of zombie that needs a headshot, you're going to want a solid slug inside a shotgun, aren't you? So, a semi-automatic shotgun. What anthem would be playing? Well, I'm a new metal fan, so anything by Korn or Cold Chamber or Limp Bizkit.
All right. I like that. That's good. All right. What animal best describes your time in service?
Oh, I don't know. Okay. Bit politically incorrect to say. But in the British Army, they sometimes call you, if you're not very good at your job, they call you a Mong, which is short for Mongoloid. I didn't know that at the time. But so someone called me a Mong. And I was like, what's Mong? Now, I read a lot of books, and I'd written The Jungle Book by Rudyard Kipling from the 1800s. I'm Mong. Well, the closest word to Mong that I know is mongoose. Why are they calling me a mongoose? I had no idea why. So I guess if I was an animal, it would be a mongoose because they called me that particular word, and I didn't understand it. I was like, well, why I just accepted it as an insult. So there you go. I think I would be a mongoose.
I like that. That's a good story. Yeah. Oh, man. All right. Knowing what you know now, would you do it all over again?
I'd do it again. I'd do it better. Yeah, I would definitely do it again. I think the military is a great place for people to go, especially younger people. You learn skills. Yeah. Okay, there's the danger element to it. That's something you've got to accept. You've got to accept it within yourself, haven't you? But anything you do is dangerous. Life is, at the end of the day, terminal at some point. You're going to get to the end, aren't you? Okay, and the people are scared of finishing early, right? You've got to reconcile that in yourself. That could happen to a series of unfortunate events, illness, injury, all sorts of things. The military will teach you things that you'll never forget, and you'll make friends that you'll never lose. And you won't get that in civilian life. People will come and go out of your life. When you're friends with someone in the military, if you saw them 20 years' time, they'd still be your best mate, even if you hadn't seen them in between. So knowing what I know now, yes, I would definitely do it again. And I would encourage anyone who's even mildly considering the military, get stuck in. Be a reservist like me if you can't commit to it full time. You will get more out of it than you can ever put in. So yes, definitely.
Yeah. Man. Words, truer words could not have been spoken. I like that. All right. Well, hey, I always give time for words of wisdom at the end. This is your opportunity to kind of just tell the listeners something that you want to leave them with, or any type of words of wisdom that you have. Yeah.
Well, I've already said it. What I've learned is you'll miss every shot you don't take. So don't be afraid to take that shot. Yeah. If you've got an opportunity to do something, that opportunity may never come again, or someone else will get it, and you'll regret it. So it could be anything. It could be something professionally. It could be asking out that girl that you've always had a crush on. You'll never know until you try. And if you don't do it, you're going to miss, aren't you? You're going to regret it. So my advice is if you've got the opportunity, then don't let it pass you by. You're only getting one lap of the track, aren't you? So you've got to do as many things that you can whilst you're still able to.
Wow. Well, shoot, man. Thanks for coming on and doing this. I truly appreciate it.
Yeah.
And hey, your book, Basra and Back, that's the latest book that you have out, which you can get on Amazon. You can go to Barnes and Noble. You said Kmart as well, right?
Target, I've got it.
Target, sorry, or yeah, I think Kmart's out of business now.
I've never even
yeah.
heard of Kmart. It's not a thing.
It's not as good.
No.
So, but yeah, man, thanks for doing this. It's always great to sit down and talk to some folks about it from across the pond or the other pond.
Yeah.
You know, you're across two different ponds, or you were.
That's right.
So
Been on both, yeah.
But awesome, man. Is there anything else that you want to bring up or talk about before we wrap this one up?
No, I'm done. It's coming up to early morning here in Japan, so I'm going to start my day, and I guess it's coming to the early evening for you. So I think it's time for you to have a well-earned beer or whatever it is you like to do at the.
Yeah. I've still got to do a podcast this evening. It's a fireside chat one, so it'll be live on all the social medias and all that good stuff. So if you're bored, in the morning, you can watch that, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, hey, man, I'll end this one the same way I end all of them. And I talk about veteran suicide and ways that people can get some help. So for anybody out there who might be struggling, don't forget the VA does have some good resources. You can dial 988, press option 1. You can always text 838-255 or go to veteranscrisisline.net. I clicked the wrong thing. And click on the chat icon. Somebody there will be able to help you out. But remember, one veteran life loss is one too many. I care about you. I know this guy here cares about you. The whole veteran community cares about you. So please reach out for help. And if you're out there, you're not struggling, reach out to a buddy you served with. Ask them how they're doing. If they need a helping hand, please give it to them. All right, man. One last time. Thanks for coming on and doing this. Much appreciated. Don't hang up on me. I'll see you after. But to everybody out there, stay motivated. Change your socks.
Come on, you sons of bitches! Your story needs to be archived also! Listen to Dan Daly. Tell your story proudly on the Lost Art Project Veterans Voices.